Captain, whatever I do it to protect you. So you understand?
I understand.
Hey guys, and welcome to our Rogue One Star Wars story review. And you know what, I'm just going to warn you guys now, there's going to be some spoilers in here. I don't really know how to review something without doing spoilers, because like, when I think of review, it's like we go through the movie and the characters and everything, we talk about everything, and I feel like if you don't spoil some stuff, it's not a real review, because then you're just kind of beating around the bush, and you know, it's hard to give my opinion. I think emotions are spoilers too, so there really is no such thing as a review without spoilers. Everybody's like, oh, we're doing a non-spoiler review. Some things are going to get spoiled because of their emotions. So we're just going to say spoilers, you know, so this is our spoiler review. Right, Jackie?
Right.
Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is all of the fantastic characters. Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso and Cassian Endor, played by Diego Luna. Those guys were fantastic, but K2SO, played by Alan Tudyk, was probably the best character in the movie.
So precious. I loved him so much.
The Imperial forces are converging on our present location.
He was like kind of like a mix between like C-3PO and Alan Tudyk.
he was, yeah, he had some sass, and the best thing about his character is he was an asshole, but like he didn't know he was being an asshole. It was just so great, and all the things they were really precious to say. Everything he said was really precious because it was just that very candid, like, just share everything, share all feelings kind of guy. And, you know, normally a human being would be awful if they did this, but because he was a robot and I love droids so much, it was perfect.
Yeah, he definitely like didn't know when to stop, you know. He was just like, you know, he was an asshole without knowing he's being an asshole because he's a robot. So he was definitely like the comic relief of the movie without being completely over the top like a Jar Jar Binks. He was more like he had that kind of sense of humor that we expect from classic Star Wars.
And Donnie Yen's character, probably my second favorite character.
You almost got me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Donnie Yen definitely second best character. The entire movie, he just, you know, talks about how he's not a Jedi. He doesn't use the Force, he doesn't bend it, but he believes in the Force and he believes in the will of the Force, and just it's like it's kind of like his it's definitely like his whole mantra. He like during the movie several times he just like prays. He's like, I am the Force is with me. It's like it's really cool. You know, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't seen it yet, now you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yes, this. I mean, like, obviously, like, the spoiler is that they're not going to make it out alive.
Episode 4, the very first Star Wars, when you're watching that, Darth Vader says, you know, several rebel spies intercepted the plans. We want to know what happened to the plans they sent you. It's like, judging by Darth Vader's tone and the way that it describes those rebel spies in the opening crawl, you know that those rebel spies were taken care of, you know? And if you didn't, then I guess then that's a surprise, but, you know, I don't remember Jyn Erso or all these characters being mentioned in episode 4, so they dead. Sorry. One of the standout performances in the movie, though, is definitely CGI Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, all of you should remember Peter Cushing as the wonderful Grand Moff Tarkin in episode 4. He was pretty much the bad guy of that movie. I mean, of course, Darth Vader was in A New Hope, but Tarkin was the one in charge of the Death Star. He seemed to be the only one to be able to tell Vader, like, what to do. Like, you know, Vader, release him as you wish. You know, it's like, why would, you know, Darth Vader has always seen Tarkin. Even if you go back to the Clone Wars, you know, with Anakin, like, he sees Tarkin as this like guy that, you know, he's not going to be able to touch. Like Tarkin is definitely Palpatine's number 2 who isn't a Sith Lord, you know what I mean? Like, so Vader and Vader and Tarkin are like equals. They're both like different types. Like, you know, Tarkin is like one stepchild of Palpatine and Vader's the other stepchild of Palpatine. Yeah, it's interesting.
All right,
I don't know how else to explain it, but they're equals.
That's quite an interesting analogy, Rich Alvarez.
Well, there's one moment in Rogue One where We haven't even talked about Krennic, played by Ben Mendelsohn. He's amazing as the antagonist in this movie. He gets a little overshadowed, in my opinion, by CGI Tarkin. And again, the reason why it's CGI Tarkin is, of course, because Peter Cushing died decades ago. So there was really no way to do this without doing CGI Tarkin. And you cannot talk about the Death Star without mentioning Tarkin. In fact, I'm glad that Tarkin had a very big presence. Some people have complained, they're like, CGI looks bad. Actually, the CGI is, like, fantastic. It's, like, the best CGI person in a movie, And yeah, what was I going to say about... Yeah, so Krennic, director Krennic, who is supposed to be the main antagonist in this movie. He's the one in the trailers with the white cloak. He is, he's really great in this movie. When he meets Vader for the first time, you could tell he's very intimidated by Vader. He's like, oh, don't kill me. But, and he's like, he asks Vader about Tarkin. And there's a moment where Vader is just like, oh, you want to compare yourself to Tarkin? And like, it's like that kind of a thing, where you see, then it's moments like that where, like Vader, he, for whatever reason, through various, I have not read the novel Tarkin, but apparently there's a lot of details in there. He considers Tarkin his equal. So it's like, you talk crap about Tarkin, you're talking crap about me kind of a thing, So I thought that was really neat in the movie. And yeah, Ben Mendelsohn as Orson Krennic, fantastic. Mads Mikkelsen as Galen Erso, Jin's father. He was also fantastic in the movie, as was the little girl who played young Jin Erso in all the flashbacks.
She was adorable, absolutely adorable.
She was great. And I kept saying, too, Felicity Jones was fantastic.
She was good, yeah.
She was a very grounded, real character. Every moment where she was struggling with, things like, oh, I gotta find my father, and like, oh, we really need to do this, and, you really believe that she was struggling and she needed to, like, get this stuff done.
If my father built this thing, we need to find him.
This, like, wonderful cast of characters just wanted to help her, and it's totally believable, and K2SO is just helping her because he was told to, and that's a really great moment, too.
I'll be there for you. The captain said I had to.
It's pretty adorable. The one thing that I didn't like, that Richie did like, where we kind of are separated on opinions, is I really did not think that Cassian's character was very fleshed out very much. He was very plain to me, so I didn't really care for his character. He
was basically just like kind of the opposite of Jin to play off of her, so...
Yeah, I know they needed to have that, but they could have given him some more character. I don't know, he was just very plain, vanilla to me.
I enjoyed his character. I thought that he was just basically a general representative of, like, the rebel grunt, that I've read about in books, because I'm a nerd,
yeah,
I read Star Wars books.
Just a plain old rebel grunt.
Just let's talk about Forrest Whitaker. You saw him in the trailers, bald in the first trailer, and then hair in the second trailer. And we assumed that because of reshoots, they just gave him hair. Now, I still think that for the most part was the case. However, when they show him in flashbacks, he's still bald. So my theory is that they just didn't do reshoots of the flashbacks. They're like, those flashback scenes were fine, and because they're flashbacks, he can have different hair.
It's supposed to be a few years, so it's like, yeah,
he could have grown hair by then.
Yeah.
I personally believe he was supposed to be bald the entire movie, and then during reshoots they gave him hair for the present day stuff.
Well, but in Clone Wars, he has hair.
He has hair in Clone Wars, so it's weird that it's like he has hair, now he's bald, now he has hair again.
Yeah, he went through a bald phase. Like, everyone does it. Except for women. Most women don't do it. But men, like, they do their bald face for.
Right, sure, whatever. But man, if you've ever seen movies like The Last King of Scotland or even Panic Room, Forrest Whitaker has had some fantastic performances, and he really gets into character in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
He is so crazy.
He's a psycho in this movie.
As Saw Gerrera.
Yeah, he's nuts.
Like, when you're first introduced to him in the present, and, like, he's talking with Bodhi, the pilot, and, like, does this weird alien stuff to him, I'm like, whoa, Saw Gerrera, you are messed up. And, you believe it, because Forrest Whitaker, of course, he just gets into that character. He's just like, what do you know? Why are you here?
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's pretty crazy. I think that he, definitely one of the standout performers. All the performances in this movie are great.
Absolutely.
And, we of course are forgetting one particular standout performance, which is of course Darth Vader. DV.
DV.
Now, I'm sure
The
you've, if you're watching this review, you've probably watched other people's review, and they're not wrong. If you're expecting, like, a Darth Vader movie, don't, because he really only is in 2.5 scenes, You know
what? Actually, I'm gonna stop you there. If you are expecting Darth Vader in the entire movie, like, at first, you're gonna be like, he's not in it that much, and then the very last scene, you're just gonna be like, that's all I needed. That's it.
Okay, yeah, the last couple minutes of the movie, it's like basically like, oh, you didn't need Darth Vader for this whole movie because this one scene is all the Darth Vader you need. I agree with that.
Literally, the movie could have been that last scene, and that's it, that 5 minute scene. You could have just gone
to the movie for 10 minutes of just, it still would have been awesome.
I would have been like, fantastic.
We'll get to the story in just a second, though. But Darth Vader, yeah, he's awesome in the minutes that he's in this movie. He chews up the scenery so much. He's got sassy Darth Vader jokes, and he's got some crazy ass Sith powers, and that's something that just in case, you're like me and you watch spoiler reviews and you haven't seen things because, you just want to, I'm not going to spoil that part for you. Darth Vader does some crazy stuff at the end of this movie that's so good, I can't possibly spoil it. But, I promise you it's the best part of the movie.
You know what? I'm going to spoil it. It was nuts, and it was awesome, and it showed off some crazy, awesome Darth Vader powers that are just... It's good.
Okay,
it's good,
well,
guys.
That wasn't that bad of a spoiler, but...
It kills them all!
It's Rogue One.
Again, you should all know the story if you paid attention to episode 4. This is the group of rebel spies that goes in to the Imperial Arcadium, basically, and they steal the architectural plans for the Death Star because it's revealed that Jyn Erso's father, Galen Erso, who was in charge of the whole infrastructure of the Death Star, he planned for it to have a weakness. In episode 4, they're like, there's a small exhaust port 2 meters wide. Shooting proton torpedoes will go through into the main reactor, causing a chain reaction. Basically, this retcons that to be on purpose. So it's not like, why would the Imperials build this to, the Galen Erso was the inside man who messed it all up and planned that so that the rebels could have a way to destroy the Death Star. I think it's brilliant. It is fantastic. And, everyone's, I've seen other people's reviews. They're like, it gets kind of boring in the middle of this movie. No, it doesn't. Just drink plenty of soda and caffeine to keep yourself awake. I guess I could say it gets a little slower in the middle, but it definitely doesn't get unexciting for me. But man, Act 3, at Scarif, where the last battle on the,
my God.
all the beach scenes that you've seen, all the walkers and everything. That's where you get the walkers on the beach. You get X-Wings in the sky. You get X-Wings in space, all at the same time. It's a crazy circus of basically like Return of the Jedi style crazy ass fighting, kind of like where we had Endor and the Battle of Death Star 2 and everything going on at the same time. It feels like that. It is nuts.
We'll take the next chance. And the next.
And one of my favorite things is that they reused not reused. They used takes from episode 4 that they didn't use in episode 4 to get Red Leader and Gold Leader, the rebel pilots. This is Gold Leader standing by, to get them into this scene because they should be there during that scene. I thought that was fantastic. Jackie, what did you think?
I loved it. It was amazing. It had me for most of the movie. I did get a little bored for just a teeny little bit in the middle, but most of it was great.
Yeah, well,
most people are saying that it's the best Star Wars movie out of all of them. I wouldn't agree with that, but it is better than the prequels.
I think it's really hard to rank. Everyone's like, where you rank it? Is it the best? Everybody wants to know. It's like, I have seen the other Star Wars movies, including The Force Awakens at this point. I've seen them all at least a dozen times. I think I've seen the original trilogy 1,000 times each. No kidding, because that was my childhood.
I have not seen it as much as that.
So, it is really hard to rank anything above the original trilogy for me because, again, I kind of identify.
Yeah.
Those 3 movies, plus Jurassic Park, was my childhood. And, you know, I just, for the sake of nostalgia, I don't know if I can ever really say, oh, this is better than that. But I will say that trying to be as non-biased as possible, I would say that I definitely think that Rogue One, though not being better than the original trilogy, is equal to the original trilogy. It's equal to the original trilogy. It's definitely better than the prequels, and it's definitely better than The Force Awakens.
I like that.
So if you are looking for something that is on par with A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Jedi, if you want to be like, oh, I wish there was a Star Wars movie that had that same tone and same like feel and same like era, Rogue One is definitely the movie for you. It's right before A New Hope. It definitely captured the A New Hope era, like, and everything about it just feels like it just. I can't imagine now going into A New Hope without watching Rogue One first. It's just It is definitely a Lego brick connection there.
Yeah, it's going to be part of my Star Wars marathon.
Yeah, which is crazy because they're all like, oh, it's going to be a separate, it's a spin-off, and, you know, it's going to be its own thing, you know, so, but you know what, for as much as they were saying that, it's not, it really is just a part of A New Hope. Yeah. So, having said that, the one thing in this movie that does upset me is that there's no opening crawl. And I remember I was warning all my friends and Jackie, like, before, I was like, guys, remember, just so you're not shocked, there's no opening crawl. It still says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but then immediately goes into the movie, and it's kind of jarring a little bit, at least for Star Wars fans. Out of all the Star Wars movies, this one really needed an opening crawl, because the first 20 minutes of the movie, it's like swapping between planets, kind of hurriedly trying to get, it's like, oh, this is what's going on, which is fine, but I think an opening crawl really would have helped set up this movie better. I'm just, Shadows of the Empire video game had an opening crawl. Almost every Star Wars video game has an opening crawl. Star Wars media in general has that opening crawl. Why wouldn't a Star Wars movie have an opening crawl? I wish I could have an audience with Kathleen Kennedy and just discuss what her thought process was between, I don't think we're going to do an opening crawl. Because that one little mistake could ruin this movie for some people. I know I've seen some people that are like, I walked in, there was no crawl, I left.
What?
Like, I have seen that. Some really diehard fans. Now I know that sounds crazy. Yeah. That sounds crazy, but the opening crawl has always been a part of Star Wars, and so that might piss off some people. I mean, for like veterans, that would be like going to a football game and they didn't do the national anthem. You might be pissed and leave the game, you know. So it's kind of like that's the only thing I can kind of compare it to. But it's like, you know, I hope they listen to fans and put the crawl for the Blu-ray/DVD. If they don't, it's still one of my favorite movies. But if they put, I would be so happy and over the moon if they put the crawl back in for the Blu-ray and DVD. I think, like, yes, they listen to fans and awesome. But if they don't, whatever, you know. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I can get over myself and enjoy the movie without the crawl.
Man, those people that walked out missed some great stuff.
Yeah. So I have ending on my list, but we pretty much already talked about that. I mean, I guess all we can say is that the movie ends.
Have one thing that
you have one thing to say. What is it?
So all of the scenes where there are ships in space, those were so reminiscent of classic Star Wars ships in space scenes. It was very nostalgic for me to see that. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, that was the one thing that was missing from The Force Awakens was a good space battle. In fact, I don't think I remember a space... I mean, the X-Wings came in to fight the Starkiller base at the end, but it wasn't really a battle in space. It was just them going in and destroying Starkiller base. You know, this has, you know, X-Wings versus TIE Fighters, which is what we really want, and it has all that classic Star Wars dogfighting. Some of you may know that, like, basically what George Lucas did back in the day was take actual World War II clips of you know, American and German planes fighting each other and use that as his storyboard for Star Wars, and then basically just recreated that with Star Wars. And this definitely feels like that is where they got this inspiration too. It's like it's got all that classic dogfighting, which I love. I'm talking about that, but mostly I was talking about like the B-roll of the ships, you know, just like there was like a big old ship here and then another ship here and like you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's not B-roll because it's like
I know what you're talking about. It's like the scenery and everything about it. There was also the precursor to Admiral Akbar. There was another
There's another Mon
there's another Mon
yeah.
Calamari. He's a blue Mon Calamari, and he was very, very cool. But obviously, again, he dies in the movie because, you know, Admiral Akbar takes his place later. But
yes, but I love the Mon Calamari. I love them.
now, some people may have a problem that this Mon Calamari dude was completely CGI, even though Admiral Akbar has always been a guy in a suit, including Force Awakens. I thought they did a really good job. You know, I think it's gotten to that point now, especially in these, like, Star Wars, especially in Rogue One. It's like the CGI is so good, like, if you're complaining, then you're just complaining, you know?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I do like practical effects more than CGI, but I was just so happy to see another Mon
When
Calamari.
practical effects are done stellar, you know, like, then I love the feeling that, oh, you can actually, like, reach out and touch this thing.
Yeah.
But also, CGI is getting to that point where it's also very good looking, too. So, you know, it's a mix.
It's
It's a fishy trap.
You're all rebels, aren't you?
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
All right, well, I've pretty much said all I wanted to say. Jackie?
Yep, I got it all out. I think that everyone should see it. You're going to really want to go see A New Hope right after you see this movie. So prepare for that.
Well, I give this movie a whopping 50 Alvarekts out of 40 Alvarekts. It's not a real rating system.
That rating system hurts. Okay, well, a more normal rating system, I am going to give it 9 stars out of 10.
9 out of 10 stars. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed...
50 Alvarekts out of 40 Alvarekts?
I know, whatever.
So it's even better.
All right, guys, well, I guess that's it for our review. I hope you enjoyed this, and we love you all, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.